This is my AGDQ submission for New Game Plus all levels of Hotline Miami, and I'm just going to start playing in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so Hotline Miami is a top-down, fast-paced action shooter game from 2012 by Denton Games. It was released in like late 2012, so it's not the earliest indie game, but it's still before like the mass craze of indie games like 2014, 2015. So this game is very, as I said, very fast-paced, and it's also very death-prone. So even all the world records that are currently in the games have deaths, but you can respawn pretty fast, so it's not that big a deal. And it's generally considered a very hard game. Now in this category, we're doing, which is New Game Plus all levels, it's the most popular category for Hotline Miami. It has currently, I think, like 90 runners on speedrun.com. Basically what you have to do is you have to see every screen that a normal person would see in a normal game, like normal like walk through the game, play through the game. So what that means is we can't use, there's 2 major skips where we can skip like whole entire levels, so we're not allowed to use those at all. And also we're not allowed to do anything that makes us so we don't see a screen of a game like this. So we can't use like the exiting at the end of a level to skip to the next level instantly. So it's about 4 minutes slower, but it's a lot more enjoyable, so that's why a lot more people run it. For some reason, it's a lot more enjoyable to run this versus New Game 90%. Now, the interesting thing about this is since it's New Game Plus, we have access to all masks at once, so we can use either Tony or Brandon, which are the 2 most useful masks that are in the game, from the very beginning of the game. And also, but besides that, there's actually really no differences in the way that the game is played. Now, as you see, going through these levels, the first bit is rather easy, so nothing really to talk about, but minor thing to note is that these cars, it's always the same for the first 3 parts of the game. It's left, down, right, where you have to go after the end of the level to get into the car instantly. You don't have to do the in-between areas, like going to pick up and talk to the guys. That's not necessary. You can just go right into the car. Yeah. But as you've noticed, Tony, which is a mask I'm choosing right now, which might change to Brandon by the time if this gets accepted, he has lethal fists. So what that means is that he has the ability to kill people in one hit. Because normally in this game, if you had no mask, or like every other mask, then you do not kill people when you punch them, you just knock them down. But this also gives us the ability to instantly execute someone. Usually it takes like 3 to 5 like smashing of their head against the ground or whatever for them to die. But in this case, we press space once on them and then left click and they're instantly dead. So it goes by really fast. So the thing with Tony is that it's much easier for low level players to like pick up Tony, but it's pretty hard at this point to get an even like semi-competitive time with Tony compared to the Brandon runs, because now we have like Brandon, which is the mask I'm talking about, which goes at 133% speed. Since he goes so much faster, the times with him are much better. So if you want to be able to get world record, you cannot use Tony anymore, unless you're actually like a TAS. But yeah, and as I said, it's really easy to die in here, but again, it doesn't lose that much time. Yeah. I mean, really, it doesn't, like, generally you'll die in, like, some areas, and then you just won't have any other issues in other areas. I mean, just dying in Hotline Miami is just, like, a part of the way you play it. Even speedrunning, it's just gonna happen. It'll take longer if you intentionally make it so that you do strats in which you won't die. Which sounds weird, but that's just how it is. Because unlike a game like, let's say, Super Mario 64 or whatever, where when you lose a level or you die, you have such a long wait time, we just can press R, and then we instantly restart that screen. So it's not a big loss than it could be if it was like Majora's Mask or something. And so yeah, we're just going to be playing through the game, and as I said, it's just kind of like how in like Portal, it's just like an act of going to these car doors. That's how you end a level, and yeah, that's all we're doing. Now, the one thing that's really interesting about Hotline Miami in terms of speedrunning it, because of this game has a good portion of RNG, not like to the point where like it's just a reset like crazy like for marathons. 30 minutes is like a really good like time tested estimate for this category. Every person that's ever done, like most people that are even mildly good at the game can easily get sub 30, even after not playing for a while. That's not the issue in terms of RNG, but enemy movements, gun, like of course the gun spread is random. Enemy movements, their reaction times are sometimes random. Like it can range from 1 frame reaction time to like never reacting. So like you can just peek the corner right now and then he would like instantly kill me. But sometimes he'll just never kill me. But that's more just dependent on the type of enemy. Like their weapon seems to slightly change how they react. Like a person holding a gun versus a guy holding a knife. And also these guys act different because those guys need to like stand up. They can't move. But also there's another, with the whole fact that there's a little bit of randomness, so like with the enemy movement, how they react, the bullet spread and all that. Basically every time you play the game it feels pretty much different. Like you're doing generally the same thing, but it feels different when you're playing it. And also because there's so much RNG, you also need to know so many different strats to beat each level. Because if you only know how to beat the game in like one specific way, like a level in a specific way, then you're gonna have a ton of issues when you get worse RNG. So generally, people who are better at the game, you'll notice that they're ready to play through a level in tons of different ways. Like, but really, it's just however many you know is better. The more you know in this game, the more ways you know how to go about a single screen or a single level is the better. However, in some cases, it's so much better to do one strat that everyone goes for it. Like in this strat, it's generally faster to go like that. But just being able to know like when, like how the enemy AI kind of works, which is kind of hard because they're both completely predictable and not predictable at all at the same time. Kind of weird, but that's the best way to put it. Yeah, like that guy, he has like nearly instant reaction times almost always. So like, as I said, the reaction times are generally very inconsistent and like semi-random, but other times like certain AI are just like, basically instant depending on the circumstances. So you kind of have to, after playing this game a lot, you'll start to pick up on the different types of AIs or specific AI in certain levels who react faster or slower. But you also gotta take into account the weapon they're using. If they're using a double barrel, the double barrel pellets move faster than any other in the game. So basically, the second that they shoot at you, you're basically already dead. Even if you're like Brandon, which is the super fast mask, you can't even like dodge bullets at that point. And also, you'll notice that a lot of these things I do, like throughout these levels, I've been just like moving about in slightly weird ways every now and then. That's just to either dodge bullets or slightly manipulate the AI's movement. Also up there, I went to the top of the corner of the elevator, shot a few bullets, and then waited. Because that made it so that the AI that generally like down there, because you're not supposed to play through that level that way. You're supposed to like go through the side and like climb across, like crawl across. But if you just bring a gun up to that floor, we can just go right past that. So, and usually the guys are too far away to like they're very far away, so you'll just be walking down, you'll just get shot at. But if you shoot in that top left corner, you pretty much get them to come in a very predictable manner almost every time. And so we use that to our advantage. So we go in the top left corner, shoot a couple bullets, and then we know where they're going to be coming at. And even though you can't see them on screen, we know where they're coming from. But that's just a matter of like strats that have been developed over time, and just being able to, having played the level a lot, you just start to understand it better. So now we're coming up on Neighbors, which this is one of the longer levels in the game. I think it's actually the longest in terms of like how long it takes to beat it. It has many levels to it, many screens to it, and also the boss battle takes a good bit of time. Also, if you notice, these fat guys right here tend to also, their death, like they take a little bit of time to die. So if you shoot them with one pellet, they can go down instantly, or they can like go down after like 40 seconds or something. So really the only way to consistently kill them is if you have a shotgun and hit most of their pellets. You just need to put as many bullets in them as possible so that you ensure that they die fast enough. Now we're coming up on the biker fight. Now the biker fight is interesting. It's the first like actual boss. We saw earlier that one fat guy we had to shoot a couple times with a shotgun. But this, we had to basically move around and like, it's hard to describe, but you just try to like you kind of start to, after like a lot of time inputting into this game, you'll start to understand how he moves according to the way you move. So you just like try and keep him in a, you try and keep control of where he is moving, and you just have to dodge these, and then you just want to line up these knife throws to be as close to the door as possible, so that you can just, right when you kill him, leave. Also, if you noticed, I just duplicated that golf club. But yeah, that's like a really subtle thing. Like, that's usually a lot of people have a lot of issues with that, like in a casual playthrough. It is very hard because he moves really weirdly, but you'll just start to pick up on how to play it better if you just play it more. That's the thing about Hotline. It's not really, there's not very many glitches. Even in the any percent category, the glitches that exist, there's only one that's like super technical. The rest are just like, they're still like glitches per se, but like it's nothing like in like Portal where it's just like these weird like pixel shots or frame perfect things. It's more just like manipulating AI to help you do specific things. And there's like many glitches throughout, but it's mostly just about your skill in playing the game rather than just execution of glitches, which makes the run a bit more interesting to some people. And so usually like people who like games with absolutely no RNG will not like this game, but people who want a game that like feels different when they're playing through, like even speedrunning it, will definitely appreciate this game. Also, I did not mention, but this game was run, this category specifically was run at AGDQ 2013, 2014, and also AGDQ 2016. It's been run a few times, and since the last time it was ran, a lot has changed in terms of strats, and also like who is on the top has also changed a good bit. Yeah, again, the deaths really are not usually that big a deal. I forgot to bring a weapon to this war, so it's just making it a bit harder, but it's really not that big a deal. And that's interesting. Oh, come on. See, another thing as to why you just have to get used to being able to play through this in many different ways is if you forget a weapon to certain floors, it makes it so much more difficult. So knowing how AI react and how they work, as well as being able to play the game in multiple different ways, just will make you get a better time at this game. Because again, it's not about just being able to do frame perfect strats, pixel perfect, sub-pixel perfect, whatever. It's all about the execution of the game itself, mainly. The people who had the best times in this game are the best people at the game. And that's why it's like a really fun game, and why a lot of people have a good amount of time in this game. It's also why it's also a really good marathon run, just because it's very consistent to get a sub 30 time, which is a relatively decent time. And it's also just really interesting because there's so many things that can happen because of bugs and also the randomness of the game. So like weird things can just happen, and it can be very interesting to watch. Because it's less to do with just pure execution. So you see a lot of weird things that happen with AI, and it's really interesting to see. And every now and then you get like really weird glitches, or there's some really weird AI movement that's just really funny to watch. So this is one of the more difficult levels, and it's also it's the only level where you don't have to kill every person to proceed. You just need to kill, I think it's like 9 or 10 people on that screen, and then we can just leave. Wait, and then that laser appears. If that laser touches you if a single pixel of that laser touches any pixel of you, then you instantly die. So you just gotta be careful with that. And also there is one next to one of the windows, 2 pixels in, it has a single seam, 1 pixel seam where the laser gets to go through for some reason. And so you can actually die even if you're behind the wall. And it's happened to me like 4 times. And to a few other people. It's really annoying. Now, Hot and Heavy is generally considered like either the hardest or like the second hardest like level in the entire game for most casual playthroughs. But it's actually pretty fun and not too difficult to do, like speedrunning wise, once you get a lot of time in the game. For new runners, this is almost always like their least favorite level, just because it is very hard to do. But once you do it a lot, it's really consistent and like smooth feeling. So it doesn't. Oh, okay. that was close. But yeah, like this level tends to. It's not that it's not RNG based. It's more like you generally put a lot of time into it, like when you're learning this game, because it's very difficult. So after a while, you just get so good at this level, and just so used to how AI can react. Because on this level specifically, AI can be like really weird. So you are more likely to run into the things that could happen in a run, and then be planned ahead to do it. And also this level is like really good. Is tons of backup strats and tons of different ways to go about each screen, which is really good when you have to deal for RNG. So it's definitely one of my favorite levels that exists in this game, even though most people that play this game when watching it are just like cringe because of how hard it is. But that's also the main enjoyment of speedrunning a game like Hotline Miami or like They Bleed Pixels, is that it's all about playing a game that most people consider to be really hard and then just absolutely destroying it. Because like I'm dying like only like 10-15 times in a run, like a bad run, whereas like most people will die like 40 times on each level. And we're beating in like under half an hour when most people take like 3 to 4 hours to beat the entire game. And for being a small indie game, that's like pretty good difference. Now see, this is another, so there's, I didn't really go over this, but there's a lot of different, so depending on what mask you're using, as I said, we're using a Tony mask for this run, just because I felt like playing as him. The way that the levels go about if you play as Tony versus Brandon are very different, because of course you have Lethal Fist or you don't, so you have to play through levels completely differently, generally. Though sometimes it's pretty much not that much different because you just pick up a gun on that screen beforehand. But in other cases, it basically changes the entire gameplay. So like on that screen, I could just like go up and punch the guys, but if you played it as Brandon, you had to do it slightly differently. And then there's also, I really like this level just because this screen up here is very cycle based, which is really nice. It's like one of the only like really nice, like well laid out like cycle based screens, because most of the enemies in Hotline are either static or they move around randomly but then there's a few people who walk around like in cycles, but in this one it was like mostly cycle based. And also, as you notice, yeah, again, the fatties don't like to die consistently. I shot him with like all the pellets of the shotgun, he didn't die, but then his friend did. And yeah, that's another, oops, yeah, I did not mean to split there. Yeah, so that's Deadline, and that's the last level before, so now, again, since this is New Game Plus levels, we're going to see everything, like all the cutscenes and everything. So this is the part in the story of the game where, because if no one's ever played this game, if you've never played this game, then you would know that, it's kind of trippy, this story, and also the art and everything. So now we're about to get shot, and we're going to die. We're dead. Oh, and then now we talk to this guy, and now we're in hospital clothes, and now our head explodes. Yeah. So yeah, this level coming up is called Trauma. It's the art. It's the generic. Oh, we have to put a stealth level into our game, but the issue is not the issue. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, yeah, it is an issue, but this game was not designed to be played slow. It's designed to be played like fast, action-paced. And this is like you just have to walk around and avoid them seeing you. So it doesn't really work out casually. But we have a strat which just gets through this like really simplistically. And it takes a bit to like understand how this like the movement works, because like you don't move in the same way. You kind of like move up and down, you sway, and then you get these migraines. But it's relatively easy. But, yeah, a lot of people tend to have a lot of issues with this level, because you've been playing all these levels up to this point, just going through them fast and, like, killing everyone. And then you have to slow down and do this stealth section. And without that, like, strat that we have, it would be such a pain. But since we have that, it's basically just a joke, which is really nice, because otherwise it'd be a real pain. So now we're coming up on Assault, which is generally considered the hardest level for most casual players. And it's also the most RNG based and hardest level in Hotline for speedrunning, just because of the amount of RNG that's on this level in total. And the thing is, like, even if, no matter what mask you're using, it's still pretty bad. Because, like, even if you're using Brandon, the places where it's, like, really easy with Tony, it's hard with Brandon. But then the places it's hard with Brandon, it's easy with, yeah. The places it's easy with Brandon, it's hard with Tony, etc. So, like, no matter what mask you're playing with, it's going to be difficult. And that's, like, actually, like, a lot of the game. Like, a lot of places which are easy as one mask can be hard as another mask. Or it's both easy, both hard. So, like, no matter which mask you play, it's not going to make it, like, so much easier. Because you can have, like, a level that's super easy with Brandon, and then it's, like, really difficult with Tony. And you can have a level that's really easy as Tony, but then it's really difficult as Brandon. So that's why it's, like, really interesting to play through this game as both masks. Yeah. And it's kind of hard to talk during this level, just because you've got to kind of focus a bit. But yeah, so, and then this is a strat for Tony that is generally pretty okay. I didn't pick up the shotgun, but come on. This tends to have issues. Like, this is like by far the fastest way you can beat the level as Tony. But the issue is that if you just have to walk across and hope that the guys are not in a bad place. Because if they are, then you're just gonna die. But like every other strat is just so much less they're even less consistent, or they're just so much slower that's not even worth it. Oh god. Oh. Okay. Where is he? There we go. Okay. Alright, now I'm done with assault. That's big relief. Yeah. Also, if you notice, I have the music going as just a soundtrack, just because it's so much more enjoyable to listen to the soundtrack without the game. Because if you get the soundtrack through the game, then it just keeps cutting out every like 40 seconds into each song, which is really annoying. But yeah. So yeah, that was Assault. That's definitely like the most difficult level, just because of the amount of RNG and the amount of random things could just happen. It's a real pain. Yeah, so this level is also this level of Vengeance is probably the most execution heavy level in the game, just because we have to do these like really weird like movement tricks so that we can kill these guys in the fastest possible time, and also doing like weird things like this where I bring a gun to the level, throw it, and then go kill these guys. So like yeah, like if just like watching this, it's kind of a really interesting strat. There's so many different ways to go through this screen, and it's just really hard. And if you die here at the end, you lose a good bit of time. So it's really just finding a strat that's not too slow for you, and whatever you're pretty good at. Because again, in Hotline speedrunning, it's really about like what can you do well, like what strats are you best with. So that's why when you see like two people even using the same mask, they'll play through the game and use it slightly differently, and also use different strats. It's not really like the cookie cutter. Like most people play pretty much differently, which makes it really enjoyable to watch races, and also just tons of different people running it. Because it's not like you're watching the exact same thing every time. You're seeing all the different like reactions to weird enemy, AI, and whatnot. But yeah, that was Vengeance. That's like the last like major level of the game. So now we're gonna be going on to the quote-unquote last level of the game. It's not the last level, but yeah. So we just have to face the final boss, but it's also not the final boss, because this game has like a weird like time paradox type thing. So yeah, we just have to come in here, kill these couple guys. Nothing special. Oops. Oh, come on. See, they just don't die sometimes. Come. Dude, seriously. You die? Alright. Roulette. There we go. Again, those guys just don't die consistently. So yeah, now we just have to pick up this trophy, kill these two panthers, throw this at her, wait for her to walk up twice, smash her head in or whatever, then just pick up knives and throw it at him. Now you can actually die to that bullet, so just don't stand where that bullet goes. And yeah, that was it. That's the final boss. It's much harder the first time you play through the game, but yeah. I seem to have heard some sort of gunshot. I don't know what that was though. I see some ketchup over here. I have no idea. I don't know what happened to that man over there. Something happened. I don't really appreciate it though. But yeah, that's the end of Jacket's playthrough. And now, just gonna wait for this little bit to go through. It's a little transition, and then we're gonna be going on to Biker. Now, the interesting thing about Biker is he moves at the same speed of Graham. Graham is the mask which. Graham makes you go at 115% speed, 116.7% speed, so like 1/6 faster than normal. So you move at that speed, and you also, instead of being able to pick up weapons, you always have a knife, and you also have 3 throwing knives. So you have like a meat cleaver and 3 throwing knives. So now we're gonna go through this level, and we optimize the way we play to use the throwing knives to come on. I'm so bad at this level now. Here we go. Okay. We use these knives to get rid of guys that would be real issues. There we go. Okay, come on. That was really bad. Whatever. But yeah, so it's really, because since you always have the knife, you always know you can kill someone. It's kind of like Tony. But you also have these 3 throw knives, and we want to use those to our advantage to kill guys who would otherwise take us longer, or we have to wait for it. And so there's really only 2 levels that are like actually action-based, which was that one before, and now this one, fun and games. So after these, it's just like a minor like skip, and then it's pretty much the end of the game. But yeah, this is like minor bit of RNG in the beginning, but other than that, it's really not a big deal. And minor movement techniques like that could reduce the chance of death. And he has no bullets. And okay, I'll keep the 3rd knife. This second screen is not that difficult, actually. Oh. Except when they react in ways they generally don't, and then it is. But, yeah, great. I love when that happens. But yeah, the biker levels are really fun. I wish there were more. There's only 2, like, actual levels. So yeah, we're done with that. Now we're just going to be going on to second to last level. And we just had to do this like small little skip, which saves, I think it's roughly 9 seconds. It's pretty cool. It'd be really cool if, I don't know. Yeah, I just really think that Biker was really underutilized in this game. I mean, because they could have made this prank call, or like, they could have, I don't know, done something with bonus levels that use Biker. Because like Biker is like a very fun way of playing the game, but they didn't really use him that much. So yeah, now we're going back through, and we're going to reenact the fight that we did earlier in the game. And I just went around him, because the longer, after you throw the weapon, you start to move slightly slower. So we don't want to kill him until we're like, or at the laptop, at the computer right there. And then we just do this little skip through the wall, and we're done. And that saves the entire walking around sequence. And now we're on to the last level, which is just a matter of text screens. So yeah, coming up on time in the game. Yeah, the game is only 30 minutes, but it's really interesting to watch. Really interesting game. And also the soundtrack is just so good. I mean, everyone's heard of Hotline by now. I mean, let's be real. And yeah, that's time. 2904 is not that bad, especially since I haven't really ran this game in a couple months before the submission video. That's the main reason that sub 30 is a really good time, because like it accounts for even being rusty, but also just like the amount of RNG you can run into. I mean, I have like 600 hours in this game, but no matter what you do, you can run into some like really bad RNG, but you'll always be under sub 30 basically. And it's been tested at three GDQs before, and totems at different online marathons. It's a pretty good estimate, I'd say. And yeah, the new game plus all levels was Hotline Manny. It's pretty cool. yeah, other than that, I mean, there's nothing more. It's just the most popular Hotline category, and it's just a really clean and the most fun version to play through the game. And yeah, that's about it for this submission. Bye. Woo laddie.